So, you've been lied to. Your 20s aren't about figuring it out. They're about building who you actually want to become before the world does it for you. And you're not stuck because you're lazy. You're stuck because you've been hypnotized into believing that you're average, conditioned to think that playing small is being realistic. Here's the truth. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your self-image. You wake up every day acting like the person you believe you are, not the person you're actually capable of becoming. And until that self-image changes, nothing else will. Your routines, your confidence, your income, your body, it all follows the identity you have. And the reason you felt lost isn't because you're broken, it's because you haven't built the identity that actually fits the future you're chasing. So success in your 20s isn't about chasing goals, it's about installing traits, hardwiring the characteristics that actually build a life you never want to escape from. That's why this video isn't about hacks or quick wins, it's about wiring your foundation. And I'm going to walk you through the 7 core traits that once installed make success inevitable. These aren't personality traits, they're identity blueprints. You don't just learn them, you live them. And when you do, you stop hoping for growth and start becoming the kind of person who actually guarantees it. So trait number 1 is radical ownership. Now, radical ownership is the shift from life is happening to me to life is happening from me. It's the day you stop waiting for permission, the day you say everything in my life is my responsibility, even the stuff I didn't cause, because I am the one who has to live with it. You want to change your body, your business, your direction, then you need to start with one sentence, which is, it's on me. That's not blame, it's power. Most people avoid responsibility because they confuse it with guilt. If it's my fault, I'm bad. So they deflect, they blame their parents, their boss, the system. But the truth is, when you don't take responsibility, you give away your power to change. So here's a step-by-step system to install radical ownership. So step 1 is the mirror journal. Every night for 7 days, write down 3 things that frustrated or triggered you, and then ask, what part of this could I influence or control next time? What belief or habit put me here? And this requires your brain to see control rather than chaos. Step 2 is ownership language audit. Start noticing how you speak and eliminate phrases such as, I had no choice, or that's just how I am, or it's not my fault, and replace them with, I chose, I allowed, I'll fix. Language is the software that programs your identity. Now, step 3 is power replacements. Pick one area of your life you feel disempowered. This can be health, money, relationship, and just write down the top 3 excuses you usually make. Then for each, write out a power move you could take this week. For example, if you have the excuse of, I don't have the time to work out, then the power move would be wake up 30 minutes earlier, do body weight in your room without having to go to the gym. Step 4, and the final step, is the 30-day ownership challenge. Every day before bed, write down one thing that you owned that day. It could be a hard conversation, a decision you made without blaming others, a moment you caught yourself before complaining, and this daily repetition will ingrain your identity. I'm the kind of person who takes responsibility. And if you do this long enough, you unlock a power most people don't even realize they have. You'll no longer see the things that happen to you as excuses or something to complain about, but rather as actions you need to take, and it will become automatic. Trait number 2 is hyper curiosity. Curiosity is how you escape stagnation without waiting for motivation. It's not a soft trait. Is the most underrated power move in your 20s. Hyper curious people build faster, adapt quicker, and spot opportunities before anyone else even knows where to look. It's not about being a genius, it's about being obsessed with learning. It's about being obsessed with understanding, because when you stay curious, you stay in motion, and people in motion don't get stuck. So most people plateau early because they become passive consumers. They scroll for entertainment instead of insight. They Google answers but never sit with better questions. Or worse, when something confuses or intimidates them, they completely retreat and they assume, I'm just not that type of person. Look, curiosity dies the moment you treat uncertainty as a threat instead of a challenge. Here's a step-by-step system to install hyper curiosity. Step number one is to build a curiosity engine, not a routine. Create a flexible 60-minute block every day called Explore Mode. It's not rigid, it's sacred. In this block, you feed your curiosity on topics that excite or confuse you. Read one chapter of a book outside your niche. Watch a long-form YouTube essay on something unfamiliar, or take notes on why it intrigued you, what patterns you noticed. Step 2 is the 3 why drill. So every time you encounter something you don't understand, don't just move on. Ask, why is this true? Why do people believe it? Why does it matter to me? And doing this daily, even for 5 minutes, will rewire your brain to seek depth over dopamine. Now, step 3 is to build a curiosity vault, like Evernote or Notion or Apple Notes. And every time you hear a quote, a phrase, or an idea that sparks your interest, you need to store it. And you can create categories such as ideas I don't yet understand, or people who think differently than me, or questions I need to explore. And over time, this becomes your personal innovation database. Now, step 4 is your weekly cross-pollination ritual. Once a week, review your notes and ask yourself, what do these ideas have in common? Could I combine any of these in a new way? And what insight can I test in real life this week? This is where curiosity becomes actual creativity. You stop just collecting dots and start connecting them. Now, step 5 would be to replace jealousy with curiosity. Whenever you feel jealousy or imposter syndrome, do this. Pause, study the person, and ask yourself, what skill, what strategy, or what perspective do they have that I can learn? And then go deep on that skill for 24 hours. Now, jealousy is a map, so follow it. The compound effect of curiosity will quietly change your life, and you will start connecting ideas and seeing patterns that no one else does. And you'll be able to, in a way, predict the future and see through walls if you really implement curiosity. Now, trait number 3 is relentless focus. Focus is how you take your life back. In a world that's engineered to hijack your attention every 5 seconds, learning to actually focus is the closest thing to a real life superpower. And most people think they're working hard, but they're not. They're just constantly restarting. Every notification, every scroll, every distraction resets the mental game clock. And relentless focus is how you build momentum so strong it feels unfair, because when your focus compounds, so do your results, and time bends in your favor. We confuse activity with progress. We keep 12 tabs open and call it productivity, but what we're actually doing is numbing ourselves with the illusion of effort. We never actually go deep. We never actually finish anything. Here's the brutal truth. If you can sit still and go deep, you will always be outperformed by someone who can. Here's a step-by-step system to install relentless focus in your day-to-day. Step 1 is build a no matter what focus block. Choose a 90-minute window every day where nothing gets in. Put your phone in another room or in a timed lockbox like a K-Safe. Use an app like Freedom or Cold Turkey to block distracting websites, and only one browser tab open. No notifications, no multitasking. And this will become your sacred zone, your daily test of discipline. Now, step 2 is to install a deep work ritual. Before each focus block, run a 5-minute focus trigger routine. Quick movement, 20 push-ups like a short walk, or set one specific outcome. I will finish X, start a timer, and breathe deeply and begin. And this will create a neurological association, a ritual that equals flow state. Step 3 would be to set a single daily target. Each morning, write down one high leverage task that, if completed, will move your life forward. For example, write 1,000 words for your book, or build one sales asset, or record one video. Only one, but go deep and finish it fully. Now, step 4 would be to track focus score, not just time. So at the end of each day, score your deep work effort from 1 to 5. 1 being fully scattered, couldn't lock in, and 5 meaning tunnel vision. That will build awareness, and over time, your average score will improve, or should improve, and so does your output. You can do this on Notion by actually creating a table or creating a database with your habits and just going in there every single day and rating yourself from 1 to 5. Now, step 5 and the final step here for relentless focus is to eliminate 3 default distractions. Every week, actually identify the top 3 things that are breaking your focus. It could be Discord, it could be TikTok, it could be your endless browser tabs, and just pick one to eliminate or restrict ruthlessly. Every distraction you cut will add 5 to 10 times the clarity back into your system. What I would recommend you do is actually open a document or an Apple Note, go through your day as normal, and write down every distraction that you notice, and actually have a running list of these distractions. And every week you try to eliminate one until the only thing that's actually left doing is the work itself. And look, you don't get focused by trying to focus. You get focused by actually eliminating everything else but the thing you need to do. And when that happens, you focus by default. You don't have to try. It's your default state because there's nothing else you need to do. Trait number 4 is uncomfortable action. Every version of you that you admire, the fitter you, the wealthier you, the confident you, every person that you admire already exists. But you can't think your way into that identity. You have to act into it. So uncomfortable action is how you actually cross that line. So you've been conditioned to believe that fear means to stop, but fear is just friction at the edge of your current identity. And the moment you lean into it, you create proof that you are becoming someone new. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to keep moving while your hands are still shaking. People wait to act until they feel ready, but readiness is a myth. It never comes, and waiting, they reinforce the belief that discomfort is dangerous. Through waiting, that hesitation becomes habit, and habit becomes identity. Over time, they don't just avoid risk, they actually avoid growth. How to install uncomfortable action? Step 1 would be to conduct a weekly fear inventory. Once a week, sit in silence and ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What would I do if I wasn't afraid of failing or looking dumb? List 3 answers. These are your real growth tasks, not just busy work. Step 2 would be the 48-hour rule. For every item on your fear inventory, actually commit to one small version of that action within 48 hours. So for example, if you're afraid of posting, then just draft a post and share it with a friend. If you're avoiding a sales call, then just write out a script and schedule it. If you're scared to ask for help, then just DM someone you respect. What you need to understand is that speed and action kills fear. Delay feeds it. Every time you feel fear, the more you delay the action that you are fearing, the more the fear grows. So what you need to do is to just kill that fear by acting quickly, acting hard. Step 3 would be to build the edge tracker. So create a running log, for example, on Notion. Each time you do something that scares you, actually write it down. Write down the date, write down what you did, write down what happened, how it felt, and review this weekly. And you'll see a new identity forming in real time. You'll see confirmation. One of the things that a lot of people miss with affirmations is they repeat these sentences that they think will turn them into a different person. And to some degree that might work. But what they fail to realize is that our brain needs evidence for those things happening before we can actually start accepting them as truth, before we can actually start accepting that we are becoming this person. So one thing that is way more powerful than affirmations is confirmation. As you write your affirmations and the person you would want to become, write down confirmations of every trait that you wrote down of the fact that you are becoming this person. So every day look for confirmations of the affirmations that you write down, and you'll see how quickly you will actually become this person, because now your brain has evidence, and now you can tell yourself, hey, I actually am becoming this person. See, I went over my fear this and this time. Now, step 4 would be to train your nervous system tolerance. So each day you need to do one micro discomfort challenge. So one could be taking a cold shower. It could be sitting with silence for 20 minutes. It could be to say no to a low value invite. Now, this rewires your baseline. It makes it so you think to yourself, I can feel discomfort and still choose power. Now, step 5 would be to make discomfort public. Once a week, share a behind-the-scenes moment of discomfort on social, with friends, etc. It reinforces that fear doesn't define you and helps others see that bravery is normal. Trait 5 would be daily discipline. Discipline isn't restriction. That's what a lot of people confuse it for. It's actually liberation. It's not about being hard on yourself. It's about honoring the future version of you that's already waiting. When most people hear discipline, they think of self-punishment. But real discipline is self-respect. It's the moment you decide that keeping promises to yourself matters more than chasing temporary feelings. And discipline means becoming the kind of person who does what they said they do, even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching. Most people rely on motivation to move, and when motivation fades, which it always does, they stop. They binge, they quit, then they shame themselves for not being disciplined enough. But discipline doesn't start with motivation. It starts with mechanism, with designing your day in a way that makes winning the default. Discipline isn't about superhuman willpower. It's about eliminating decisions and reinforcing your identity through systems. How would you do this? Step 1 would be to define your keystone habit. Ask yourself, what's one small habit that, if done daily, creates ripple effects across the rest of my life? For example, working out in the morning, journaling with intention, creating one piece of content. Just choose one and lock it in for 30 days. Step 2 would be the daily done list ritual. Each morning, write down just 3 tasks. One high impact task, which would be for your deep work, one maintenance task, which would be admin or life stuff, and one personal task, which would be fitness, reading, reflection, etc. And cross them off for a daily win. Over time, this will build the identity reinforcement that you execute daily. Now, step 3 would be a visual habit tracker. Use a wall calendar, a whiteboard, or an app like Habitica or Streaks or Notion. Every day you complete your keystone habit, mark it. Now, the goal is not perfection, it's momentum. So miss one day, fine. Miss 2, you need to reboot immediately. Seeing your streak visually will trigger accountability. Now, step 4 would be to reduce friction and build rituals. So identify where you're losing discipline due to friction. Are your gym clothes not ready? Pack them the night before. Are you getting distracted online? Use side blockers. Are you losing time choosing what to do? Pre-decide your top 3 daily tasks and create 2 to 3 non-negotiable rituals to lock your habit in place. Now, step 5 would be the weekly self-audit. Every Sunday, review your discipline log. What did you do well? Where did you slip? What systems do you need to tighten? And this will keep your discipline alive, intentional, and adaptable. Trait 6 is clear vision. You don't need more goals, you need direction. Without vision, your actions are just movement and not progress. So vision isn't a luxury, it's a prerequisite for power. It's what gives meaning to sacrifice, and it's how you align your energy so you're not just busy, you're actually building. A clear vision gives you permission to say no. It turns distractions into distortion, and it transforms your just another day into a brick in the foundation of your future. So most people confuse fantasy with vision. They have a vague dream like be rich or be happy, but no actual details, no sensory clarity, and no emotional gravity. So they drift. One week it's YouTube, the next it's dropshipping, the next it's real estate. They chase momentum instead of meaning. Without a real vision, consistency will feel like a grind. With one, it becomes a mission. Step 1, the perfect day visualization. Block 30 minutes, close your eyes, then write out your ideal day in full detail. Where do you wake up? What's your morning routine? What are you doing? What work are you doing? doing? Who are you surrounded by? What do you feel proud of? And make it tangible, specific, and felt. Translate that to tangible targets. From your perfect day, extract 3 core pillars: health, wealth, and lifestyle, and turn each into a measurable, time-bound target. So for example, for health, it could be shredded and energetic. For wealth, it could be 20,000 a month from your brand. For lifestyle, it could be freedom to work remotely. Turn each into a measurable, time-bound target. And then create your vision map. Use a whiteboard, Notion, or even a sticky note and write down your 3-year vision, your 12-month targets, and your weekly targets. This will create vertical alignment. Every week, you're going to be pulling the future you into the now. And then create the morning vision ritual. Each morning, review your written vision out loud. It creates emotional congruence. Your brain starts filtering the world through the lens of your future. Bonus points if you actually write 3 sentences daily, starting with, "Today I will act like the person who." This activates identity level congruent. Finally, cut the noise audit. Once a week, ask, what am I doing that doesn't align with this vision? Who are the people, habits, platforms pulling me off course? And then cut one ruthlessly. Vision without subtraction is hallucination. Trait 7 would be emotional intelligence. Now, hear me out. I know a lot of people, especially men here, would kind of zone out. Most people are driven by emotions they've never named. Emotional intelligence is how you take back the steering wheel. It's the silent edge that separates leaders from liabilities. Not because they don't feel chaos, but because they don't become it. They feel deeply, but respond deliberately. If you can regulate your internal world, there's almost nothing in the external world that can actually throw you off for long. Emotional intelligence is your armor and your leverage. We live in a culture that glorifies logic and buries feeling. So when emotions arise, most people do one of 2 things. They either suppress them until they explode or react to them and create more chaos. Neither of those is strength. Both are self-sabotage, and the real game is learning to feel without flinching and acting without overreact. Step 1 is emotional labeling practice daily. So at least once a day, pause and ask, what am I feeling right now? Where in my body is it showing up? And is it anger or is it fear disguised as control? And use precise labels. Frustrated is not rage. Disappointed is not worthless. Naming diffuses in the intensity. Now, step 2 would be the emotional debrief log 3 times a week. After emotionally charged moments, for example, an argument, a rejection, a big win, journal what triggered you, what belief got activated, how did you respond and why, and what would a high emotionally intelligent person or version of you do next time. So this is how you make unconscious patterns conscious. Now, step 3 would be to build the pause reflex. Before reacting to any trigger, message, or an insult, or some kind of an opportunity, install a 5-second buffer. Breathe, label the feeling, ask yourself, what outcome do I want from this? And then that micro gap becomes your power zone. It turns reaction into strategy. Now, step 4 would be an empathy exercise that you do weekly. So choose one conversation or conflict and write down what might they have been feeling, what could have been driving their behavior, and where have I felt something similar. Empathy doesn't mean agreeing, it means understanding, and that's influence. Now, step 5 would be to upgrade your emotional vocabulary. So once a week, Google the emotion wheel, and I'll put it on the screen here, and pick 3 new emotional states you've felt but never had words for. The broader your vocabulary, the more precisely you can actually navigate your inner world and lead others through theirs. So become the architect, not the outcome. You don't get the life you want by accident. You get it by becoming the kind of person who builds it on purpose, with precision and with grit. Each of these 7 traits isn't a tactic. They're transformation tools. They rewire how you think, act, and respond. But more than that, they're the scaffolding for identity that creates lasting success. So this isn't about motivation, it's about installation, because when identity shifts, results become inevitable. So don't chase hacks, don't wait to feel ready. Start installing the blueprint, start living it now, because the real flex in your 20s isn't having it all figured out. It's becoming the person who figures anything out. So the world doesn't shape you, you do. Start building.